Good morning. It is Monday, October 20th, 2025. I am standing at the far southern edge of the Fond du Lac neighborhood, basically at the boundary of the city of Duluth. Pretty close. After a hiatus that has been too long, maybe 3 or 4 days, I am resuming the Monitors project of visiting all the parks in the city from smallest to largest. We started at park number 162 and we have now worked our way up to park number 46 at 15.93 acres. It is Chambers Grove Park. And so there's Highway 210, then goes up that way, up into the highlands there, and ultimately over to Jay Cook Park. This is a fully equipped park, has pit toilets, water, although I don't know if it's on at this time of year. Playground, picnic pavilion, picnic tables under the trees, all kinds of stuff that you would associate with a park. There's a lot going on at this park. One of my favorites. We have a little war memorial here. World War II Veterans Memorial. Some kind of an oak tree here. Doesn't look like a red oak. White oak? Swamp oak? I don't know. So as these parks get bigger and bigger, I can only show less and less of them in the time of a short video. So I'm gonna really have to pick and choose what I show here at Chambers Grove. So this is right on the river, right on the St. Louis River, and probably the most substantial park that's right on the river, unless you count, like, say, Bayfront or something, which I guess technically that would be on the river, but that's more like it's just on the lakefront. Up until about 10 years ago or so, this riverbank, the St. Louis Riverbank along Chambers Grove, had steel sheet piling. You couldn't just walk down to the water's edge. You could walk to the sidewalk that was there, and then it was just a sheer drop of sheet piling down into the river, which was the practice in decades past for shoring up shoreline. But now, in more modern times, we realize that trying to control the riverbank by just hardening it, well, for one thing, it eliminates access to the river. You can't get down to it. You have to jump off the sheet piling, and then it disrupts the natural flow of the river too. So then when it floods, it just comes roaring along that sheet piling and scours out the bottom. So that was after the flood of 2012. All that sheet piling was just all wonky, and the sidewalk was crooked and falling apart and everything. So they got rid of it completely. The DNR did, and replaced it with a more natural shoreline here. And that's what we got here. These rocks and things, all this. You can see this is all new within the last decade or so. And so now when it floods, it just rises and then spreads out over the floodplain. which is the way it happens in nature. And all that energy just sort of gets dissipated out into the floodplain instead of being destructive to the banks and such. My interest in this park started in about 2017 when I became interested in Duluth's first railroad, the Lake Superior and Mississippi Railroad. And the earliest branch of that started in Thompson and came right down the hill, following the river for 6 miles. Came right behind, on the hillside there, behind that pavilion. That's where the train ran. Went around the corner there and into Fond du Lac, where there was a depot. When the leaves are completely gone, you can actually see the grade pretty clearly. I was envisioning that would be the case today, but there's too many leaves. So I have to take my word for it. Chambers Grove Park. This whole area was originally owned by Michael and Emily Chambers in the 1870s. There's a quarry back through the woods there, which we will not go to because it's too far for this video. A brownstone quarry. Michael Chambers quarried it and sold the brownstone. There's still some buildings in town that have Chambers Grove brownstone on them, including Old City Hall and the old police station across from the casino. Trimmed out with brownstone. So Michael and Emily Chambers built a big mansion out here, 20-room mansion, like up there near where the pavilion is now. In this whole area, they had an orchard down in here, and people would come and picnic. They allowed people to come. They'd picnic along the river, and Emily Chambers liked to play the piano, so she'd be up in the mansion there playing a piano. The windows are open. People would be all over down here picnicking back in the 1870s. It was quite a popular destination. That mansion burned down in 1891 due to arson. They never found out who was responsible. But the guy who was suspected of doing it, his house burned down due to arson a little bit later. So it is suspected that Michael Chambers had his revenge. So this area as a park was established in 1926. So one thing I just want to show how prevalent historical items are in the landscape around Duluth. That mansion burned down in 1891, was eventually demolished. The ruins were eventually demolished. There is still remnants, not of the mansion itself, but of the area around it, and as well as the Lake Superior and Mississippi Railroad, very close to the park here. And I'm going to show a couple of those here. This is also a very popular place for mountain bikers to start their, you can see one going up now. This is sort of the jumping off point for various trails that go along the St. Louis River, or you can cross the road and go up into Mission Creek area. So here, if you want to take that trail, it's a nice, fairly recently graveled trail, half-mile walking loop, and that's nice. There's also a quarry out there if you know where to look, and that's fun to explore as well. But the mansion was right in this area somewhere, and you can see they ditched this hole along the hillside here to prevent flooding from when it comes down the road, down the hillside. See right here, this ditching, I'm pretty sure that this is original to the property. This was probably ditched out when they built the mansion. And Same thing here. There's another one. Quite steep, steep-sided and narrow. It doesn't look natural. So I think that's a ditch that was built in as far back as the 1870s. But what I really enjoy, so the Lake Superior Mississippi Railroad grade right here, we're standing at the base of it. Right where that guy's riding his bike, that is on the railroad grade, right there. That's where it ran, right through there. And amazingly to me, there's still pieces of that right there. See that retaining wall? That's probably from 1870, or the railroad opened in 1870, so this retaining wall was probably built even before that, 1868, 69. And it's just right here, still being used as a mountain bike bridge at this point. Just find that fascinating. Yeah, this is these blocks resemble the old trestle footings, blocks used in the old trestle footings that I found further up the way there. Strange that a little retaining wall is like a highlight of my visit, if that is the case. And then there's this thing right here. It almost looks like a step. I've never quite figured out if that was supposed to be there or if it fell off of something else. You need to do some digging, but there's a little mini retaining wall right there. So whoever built these finished the work about over 150 years ago. The proximity to the railroad worked to the advantage of Mike Chambers, because he was able to load his brownstone blocks right onto the railroad. And actually, what exists in here is little spur train railroad beds off the main railroad bed that then lead to the quarry. This is a nice walk or mountain bike ride. It goes along the river for a mile or so, then turns up into the woods, which is also pretty cool. So right here, right now, we are on the bed of the Lake Superior Mississippi Railroad, but there were spur lines down below. They're not real visible at this second, but up here they are, I think. That led to the quarry that's on the bank of the river down there. This video is getting long, so I'm going to try to wrap it up here. I just want to show something. And that's sometimes when I say I'm on the railroad bed, you'll just have to take my word for it, because these hillsides erode and collapse over the years. Sometimes it's impossible to tell that you are on a railroad bed. But in other places, it's quite obvious. And we're still walking along here on the main railroad line, the Lake Superior and Mississippi Railroad. And okay, so here, you look down here, you can start to see this bench down there. That's a secondary line. See how that goes out there like that? That leads out to the quarry. So main railroad, secondary spur line leading to the quarry. And when I first started exploring, trying to work out the 6-mile section of railroad between Thompson and Chambers Grove, my first moment of big excitement was when I found this bench right here. And I thought, at that time, I didn't realize the main train was up there. I thought I'd hit it right here. And I was just thrilled. And I walked out, followed it, and within a very short order, I found myself staring at the river. It dead ended at the river. So at that point, I realized I was not on the main track and I had to backtrack. Eventually figured out that the main track was up there. But whenever I'm here in this area, right in this spot, I just remember that how excited I was in 2017 when I thought I had hit the main trail, main track. And at that time, there wasn't even an interpretive trail down there, let alone signs. So it was even more like lost in the woods and exciting. So, little anecdote there. Leaves are changing. Still a few on the trees. But this is at 15 minutes, almost 16. Park number 46, Chambers Grove Park. Thanks for watching.